whether it's our avionics systems, our electric propulsion systems, our actuation systems. You'll get to see those flying and operating on those vehicles in 2024 and 2025. And so the next milestones for us are really about witnessing our solutions in the air and providing passenger delivery or cargo delivery.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 411. How is Honeywell positioned to serve the advanced air mobility market? For that question, we head to Phoenix, Arizona, to speak with Dave Shilliday, Vice President and General Manager of the Unmanned Aerial Systems and Urban Air Mobility Business Unit at Honeywell Aerospace. Honeywell's UAS business develops new products and serves as a systems integrator for both airframe makers and operators in this fast-evolving market. Its area of responsibility spans aircraft systems, flight services, and ground operations. In November, Honeywell announced its Advanced Air Mobility Business Unit had secured contracts worth over $10 billion to build advanced air mobility components, signifying the growth of advanced air mobility as a viable commercial sector for years to come. David has been with Honeywell for over 18 years. Prior to his current role in the Advanced Air Mobility Unit, he held several key leadership positions within the company, including Vice President and General Manager for the Power Systems business of Honeywell and Vice President of EMEAI Airlines. He also led the Honeywell Aerospace trading business, as well as roles leading aftermarket strategy and IP licensing. Prior to joining Honeywell, David had roles in engineering and IP strategy within the commercial automotive market. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Arizona and a Master's degree in Business Administration from the W.P. Carey School at Arizona State University. David also holds a number of patents on innovative automotive safety technology and has published cooperative research in the field. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, David talks about Honeywell's Advanced Air Mobility Unit, its recent award of $10 billion in AAM-related contracts, and what this means for the future of advanced air mobility. But before we hear from David, I want to stress that your support is the heartbeat of my podcast. Every episode is crafted with you in mind, and your generous donations ensure I can keep delivering the content you love. Whether it's the price of a coffee or a more substantial contribution, every bit helps to defray the cost of production. Donate today and be a vital part of the podcast's continued journey to greatness. And for a limited time, donate $100 or more and receive an official Drone Radio Show coffee mug. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And if you can, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave a nice review and rating on iTunes. It really helps improve the podcast ranking among the many thousands of active podcasts today. So let's learn about Honeywell's Advanced Air Mobility initiatives with David Shilliday of Honeywell Aerospace. Let's pick up the interview where I asked David to introduce himself.
My name's Dave Shilliday. I lead the Advanced Air Mobility business for Honeywell Aerospace. I've been in the aerospace business about 20 years, everything from managing airlines in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and India, to managing our power systems portfolios, our development of new, more sustainable products, and now the opportunity to manage our AAM business, which we'll get into exactly what that entails.
Dave, tell us about the business. What does Honeywell Aerospace do to support advanced air mobility?
We leaned in early in this market segment, and our CEO asked us how we were going to address this nascent market. and we stood up a dedicated business line. So I have sales teams, I have program management teams, I have engineering teams, all dedicated to this market. And it's about meeting our customers where they're at, right? We need the ability to act nimbly because the evolution of these vehicles is happening so quickly, but with the support, with the cert experience, with the balance sheet of a Fortune 500 company. So it's really about having a small speedboat, right, that can go quickly to where our customers need to go, attached to the warship that is Honeywell Aerospace, that has the experience and the infrastructure and the legacy products that can help support these customers.
How does that align with the company's vision and mission?
The mission of our team is to enable technologies that allow two statements to be true. One, passengers can travel 100 miles in 45 minutes. And two, cargo can be delivered anywhere, same day in the developed world. So at the heart of the technologies and the work we do is, can we make those two statements true?
What components or systems does Honeywell produce?
We do everything but the aircraft, right? We're the brains, the eyes, the ears, the heart, the lungs, really everything but the fuselage and the batteries we're involved in. And so what we're about is not only how do we utilize legacy products that we have, like an electric motor, like an actuation system, like a cockpit system, to meet these customers' most important needs, but where there isn't a product, and we'll talk about things like our ground control station or some of our solutions moving towards autonomy, what are we going to create, right? What does this set of customers need that nobody has, right? And then we go off and we develop it.
Is Honeywell pursuing new partnerships in the AAM sector, or does it pretty much rely on existing longstanding partnerships?
We've added some new partners. For example, on electric propulsion, we partnered with Denso, who's the automotive motor supplier, electric motor supplier for folks like Toyota and a number of other OEMs. And so we recognize that our expertise in high-performing motors and certifiability, mixed with their expertise on highly reliable manufacture at scale, right? That was a great marriage. And it was where this market really was going to need a highly reliable, low-cost, manufactured at scale solution. So that's an example of a partnership that we created exclusively to support this market. And we'll announce some more through 2024 relative to partners for unique elements that we think are needed to serve this market. We're also an investor. Without going into too many specifics, we invest in both OEMs in this space and we invest in solution providers in this space to ensure that both the aircraft and all the associated underlying technologies are getting where they need to be to make this market successful.
How have these partnerships shaped Honeywell's progress in the AAM sector?
A couple ways. I mean, one is some of these partners are smaller than us. And so they naturally iterate faster. They naturally make decisions about whether a technology is getting where they need it to get faster. And it forces us to operate in a more nimble, agile environment, which is great. That's a great tension for us to have. The other is they're just naturally going to approach some of these problems different than a legacy aerospace company. If our natural frame is, how did we solve this on a 747 or how did we solve this on an A320, we're going to come at it with a starting point that's different. And one of our partners may start with, how did I solve it on a digital watch or how did I solve it on a $50 drone? And they'll come at it very different. And that tension is going to create a better answer.
For emerging companies in the advanced air mobility space, what does Honeywell look for in potential partnerships? And how can those companies engage with Honeywell to collaborate?
We're really open to that discussion. So one of the things I would say is my name is out there. I prowl on LinkedIn, and the purpose of that is because I want to constantly be hearing about new technologies and new solutions that exist out there. So if somebody's got a solution that's more cost effective, that's lighter, that does, that meets our customers' unmet need, hit me up on LinkedIn and let's talk about it. Because one, we recognize we can't solve all these problems in our four walls. We're very good at a broad range of things, but we're not going to solve them all. So we want to hear how others are doing it. And two, we just have to be selective, right? We take on what we think are the most pressing problems that our customers have, and that's always going to leave something at the bottom of the list. And we certainly need partners who help us achieve, on both of those ends.
Are there certain components that Honeywell produces that are uniquely suited to serving the AAM market?
Our legacy, certainly our cockpits, like our Anthem cockpit, industry leading. I think it marries itself very well to what a future AAM aircraft is going to need relative to connectivity, relative to adaptability. I think that's a great example. But we've also got a legacy in cooling systems. And so you think about cooling not just the passenger in a VTOL, but potentially cooling the batteries to extend the range of the mission or to extend the life of the batteries. We've got a long history there. Electric motors, I mentioned. We know how to certify engines. We have a host of electric machinery out there, marrying those two things together. Actuation. So I know that was probably more than you were looking for there, but I think there's a reason that folks come to us and say, we've got this need, we've got this technical need, and we think not only do you know how to meet that technically, you know how to certify it, you know how to get it to me at a cost that will meet the vehicle requirement.
At the November Dubai Air Show, Honeywell announced its Advanced Air Mobility business unit had secured contracts worth over $10 billion to help build the future of sustainable flight. I'd like to talk about what this investment means to Honeywell and to the advanced air mobility industry. But first, tell us about the Dubai Air Show and Honeywell's participation.
Because of our legacy presence, a lot of the air shows, whether it's Dubai or Paris or Farnborough or Singapore, we're typically going to have a presence there because our OEM customers and our airline customers are going to be there. They've also recently pivoted more towards where a lot of the advanced air mobility OEMs are presenting, the status of their development of technology. For example, Volocopter flew their eVTOL vehicle at Paris and at Farnborough and at the EBACE show. And you'll continue to see more of those vehicles fly real time at those air shows. So why do we go? Because our customers are there and because we get to see how the technology is maturing. Our announcement at the Dubai Air Show was that our AAM business segment, the segment I run, has won $10 billion in lifetime contracts. And the reason we wanted to state that is because we're very bullish on this market and we intend to execute on and support, as those contracts, as those vehicles fly, and as that hardware goes into service.
What's the duration of those contracts?
That's a lifetime value of those contracts over the delivery of those aircraft. So it's a mix of when those aircraft start delivering and when those revenues would be achieved. But what we track is what's the total value of those contracts that we've been awarded.
What does the award mean to the AAM industry?
I think a couple of things. One, it represents a large industrial company who has leaned into this market. And not only are we excited that we've won that business, we're staffing and we're doing the work necessary to ensure we're going to support that business. So I think it's a very strong signal of our belief in this market. The other is it crosses both our own portfolio, right? Within those announcements are avionics wins, our electric propulsion wins, our cooling systems, what we call our micro VCS, actuation, fly-by-wire. Those wins are across the breadth of portfolio of Honeywell offerings. The other is it's across all segments of the players in this market. So whether you think of startups like Lilium and Vertical, legacy OEMs like Textron, their Pipistrel division, or automotive entrants like Supernal, who's a division of Hyundai. We've announced wins across all of those customer segments and across all of those product segments. So it's not about $10 billion in one line item, right? It's a broad range and a lot of work that we've done to put ourselves in a position to support all of that.
In addition to Supernal, who are some of the other partners that you'll be working with over the next several years?
So we've publicly announced Lilium. We have both the electric propulsion and the avionics system. And there will be an upcoming announcement relative to the cooling system with Lilium, Vertical Aerospace, relative to the avionics system, to the cockpit system. I mentioned Pipistrel, who's a division of Textron. and the flight control computer that we provide for that cargo vehicle. And then Supernal on the avionics as well, Archer on actuation.
What are the biggest challenges facing Honeywell in the AAM sector? And what opportunities do you foresee in the near future?
The number one challenge today is certification, right? Technically, these vehicles are doing exactly what folks designed them to do. Next, they have to be certified not only at the vehicle level, but for a given mission. And so right now, that's where a heavy amount of work is being done, is ensuring that both the vehicle and the ConOps are being approved and certified. The immediate follow-on to that challenge will be customer adoption. Cargo is easier. Cargo doesn't complain when you're working things out, but passenger adoption is going to be critical to getting these things up to scale. So regulatory environment today, customer adoption tomorrow.
Does Honeywell have specific expertise in certifying these systems?
Yeah, we've certified engines, APUs, avionics, you name the system. We've certified them for 60 plus years.
How do you think customer adoption will go? Seems like there's a lot of interest, but it's another thing when you're about to step onto a new aircraft.
It's interesting. One of the analogies I draw here in Phoenix, we're a big test hub for autonomous Ubers. And the reluctance goes away faster than you'd think. I know I used to talk to my 81-year-old mother about, taking a ride in an autonomous vehicle. And initially she said, that sounds daunting and this and that. And then I got her in one and she said that was really a lot of fun. And now, folks that pull up the app here in Phoenix and you have the choice of a Waymo, I think it's almost 50-50 now. So I think that customer adoption, as soon as the convenience is realized, as soon as the consistency of it's realized, as soon as the price point is realized, customer adoption will perhaps be easier than we think.
Can you provide some insights into how Honeywell navigates the regulatory landscape?
We sit on a number of boards, whether it's EuroK or FAA advisory boards, to assist with guiding where we think some of the rulemaking needs to go faster or needs to consider the unique demands of this industry. And then we also host every year, we do a summit in Washington, D.C., and we invite FAA and EASA and lawmakers and OEMs all to sit in the same room and have these pretty deep discussions about what's necessary in order for this industry to be successful. And that summit is just a great informational session, but we have also seen action come directly out of that, where what's in, the new FAA reauthorization, I think was informed by a number of those discussions and things that were heard in those sessions. And we hope that, subsequent rulemaking will be informed by those sessions as well. And this is not something where we're putting our thumb on the scale, right? It's an open environment where we want that dialogue to occur because we truly believe that the success of this market is going to have to be driven by solutions that benefit everybody. So it's not about us guiding the discussion in one direction or another. It's about us creating a forum where that discussion can happen in a really meaningful and rapid way.
And that forum includes other AAM providers.
Exactly right. Uber Elevate for a while sort of wanted that spot in the industry, and they've sort of moved on to other things. So we really wanted to pick up the mantle of creating a forum where those discussions can go on.
What does the next year look like for advanced air mobility?
I think 2024 is going to be a very pivotal year, right? We're past all of the test flights happening somewhere in the desert, right? Where you get these YouTube videos of a vehicle, maybe even at scale, remotely piloted somewhere outside. You've already seen Volocopter this year fly in New York, right? Pictures of the Volocopter vehicle with the Statue of Liberty behind it. I think in 2024, what you're going to see is these vehicles operating in big cities, in big environments like the Paris Olympics, right? You're going to see these vehicles operating and moving people in these very challenging environments. And so some of that will prove out the thesis of the benefits that these vehicles drive. And so that'll be really telling. And that will pivot some number of skeptics, I hope, from, I don't think this is ever going to happen, to, wow, this is going to happen even faster than I thought. And so I would say look out for Volo in 2024. I would say look out for Lilium, look out for Vertical in 2024. I think you're going to see some really exciting proof of the business case.
Do the aircraft have to demonstrate that they have a certain number of flight hours of testing to get FAA certification?
Depending on where they fly and what mission they're going to fly, that number changes, but the short answer is yes. There's a set of requirements that are laid out. And in some places, those requirements are still fluid as they figure out the specific missions that these vehicles are going to operate.
Do you have any ideas on how the aircraft will be used at the Paris Olympics?
The intent was to move people ideally from the airport to the events. Exactly how that's going to be permitted, I'm going to try and phrase that in a very positive way. Exactly how they're going to be permitted to do that by the authorities in Paris is still under some debate. But I would say you'll see it in some form of people being moved from outside the city directly to the venue.
Well, I think the last person carrying the Olympic torch should arrive at the stadium by an air taxi.
I love that idea. My idea was Macron coming in on the Volo vehicle, but either of those is a great visual.
What do you enjoy most about working at Honeywell and in this business unit specifically?
The pace of development is just really, really incredible. The aerospace, typically because of the certification requirements, can feel like it moves at a glacial pace. And these customers have existential reasons why they have to move at a much, much faster pace. And that's exciting to be around. Their energy is also just infectious, right? A lot of these people have been told they can't possibly achieve what they say they're going to achieve so many times. And then they continue to outperform those expectations. Their energy is easy to get caught up in. And you're really affecting the future in a material way. I feel like I'm living through this really amazing part of aviation history, and I'm right in the thick of it. And how many times in your life are you going to get an opportunity like that?
It sort of reminds me of the space industry in the 60s, where everything and everyone was focused on a specific goal.
I think that's a great analogy, the space race. All these vehicles, churning forward, trying to prove out who can be first. I think it's a great analogy to the space race.
What have the past several years taught you about the drone industry?
I'd have to say, one, don't be so quick to say what is or isn't achievable in a given timeline, right? I can tell you, I've personally been involved in technical discussions where we've said something isn't feasible in the timeline where one of these customers is proposing it, and they've done it. So I continue to say, be careful what you say is and isn't possible, because these folks defy expectations. And two, the inspiration that comes, what's the second order idea? What's the third order idea? I also think some of these missions, we're narrowly thinking about flying to our favorite destination for tourism, or we're narrowly thinking about cargo, last mile cargo, instead of all of the places that this can open up new markets or new geographies. And I draw the analogy to the birth of the internet, where once we got high-speed internet, we hadn't even contemplated all the things that might become possible as a result of that. I do think this market is going to open up how we personally move and how we move things in ways we haven't even gotten our arms around yet.
Dave, I should have asked this question earlier, but what makes Honeywell stand out among other technology companies for delivering advanced air mobility components and services?
I think our pedigree in certification and entry into service and support of our products across a number of fleets, right? There's no air transport or biz jet or defense platform that we're not providing. We haven't provided systems for, and we're not providing support for over the life of those. So our experience over 80 plus years in that market gives us a credibility. And then our spirit of innovation, I would suggest the fact that we continue to develop the next system for the next aircraft and for future needs, we have a foot in both worlds. We can be the responsible adult that helps guide, this is what's certifiable, this is manufacturable, but we're also an innovator who can say, this is what's possible. And, how do we marry those two things together?
What are the next milestones for Honeywell, and what should we look for?
I would say the next milestones are really going to be about witnessing our products at work on those vehicles. So whether it's our avionics systems, our electric propulsion systems, our actuation systems, you'll get to see those flying and operating on those vehicles in 2024 and 2025. And so the next milestones for us are really about witnessing our solutions in the air and providing, whether it's passenger delivery or cargo delivery.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
Our CEO has stated, very publicly that part of why he's so excited about the work we're doing in this market is because he thinks that the innovations we develop here will naturally find their way into the next biz jet aircraft, into the next air transport aircraft, into the next defense platform. And so I think that's true. The products themselves will get advanced, and then it'll be that much better of a solution for those future traditional platforms. The other is that the process, when I talked about that pace of innovation, that's also going to infect the entire Honeywell Aerospace business, right? And so not just the offerings that we have, but how rapidly we do business will get better for that next traditional platform.
And I know that Honeywell has made a commitment to sustainability. Can you comment on how AAM aligns with that goal?
These aircraft, by definition, electric, a very small number that are hybrid electric, more efficient route planning, more efficient movement of people and materials. By definition, it fits within our megatrend of sustainability. And so not only is it driving the decarbonization of aviation at large, right? So when I talk about all these solutions feeding the next narrow body or the next biz jet aircraft, think of electric propulsion getting advanced up to that scale. And so does it drive more sustainable solutions in this nascent market? Yes. Will it also move the ball forward towards decarbonizing narrow body and biz jet travel in the future? Absolutely. So when our chairman's vision of both advancing aviation and advancing sustainability, this checks both of those boxes in a big way.
And for my final question, Dave, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of advanced air mobility?
It's real, right? When you see these vehicles fly in 2024, we've rapidly gone from a concept, a rendering, a scale model, a remotely piloted vehicle to moving people in these highly congested areas in a way that's disruptive. So message one is it's real. And two is it's really going to change how we move. It's going to change how we personally travel. It's going to change how we buy and sell goods. And we're not going to go back. Again, it's like the birth of the internet and then the next idea of how we utilize this technology will inspire us even further.
That's it for episode 411 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from David Shilliday of Honeywell Aerospace. I want to thank Dave for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about Honeywell Aerospace or want to connect with Dave, check out the webpage at aerospace.honeywell.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, then please subscribe and share. Write a glowing review on iTunes. And if you're able, donate to keep the podcast going. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.